première année de Belshazzar, roi de Babylone, Daniel eut un songe et des visions de son esprit pendant qu'il était sur sa couche. Ensuite, il écrivit le songe et raconta les principales choses. Daniel commença et dit, « Je regardai pendant ma vision nocturne, et voici, les 4 vents des cieux firent irruption sur la grande mer, et 4 grands animaux sortirent de la mer, différents l'un de l'autre. Le premier était semblable à un lion et avait des ailes d'aigle. Je regardai jusqu'au moment où ses ailes furent arrachées. Il fut enlevé de terre et mis debout sur ses pieds comme un homme, et un cœur d'homme lui fut donné. Et voici un second animal était semblable à un ours, et se tenait sur un côté. Il avait 3 côtes dans la gueule entre les dents, et on lui disait « Lève-toi, mange beaucoup de chair ». Après cela, je regardai, et voici, un autre était semblable à un léopard, et avait sur le dos 4 ailes, comme un oiseau. Cet animal avait 4 têtes, et la domination lui fut donnée. Après cela, je regardai pendant mes visions nocturnes, et voici, il y avait un 4e animal, terrible, épouvantable, et extraordinairement fort. Il avait de grandes dents de fer, il mangeait, brisait, et foulait aux pieds ce qui restait. Il était différent de tous les animaux précédents, et il avait 10 cornes. Je considérai les cornes, et voici, une autre petite corne sortit du milieu d'elle, et 3 des premières cornes furent arrachées devant cette corne. Et voici, elle avait des yeux comme des yeux d'homme, et une bouche qui parlait avec arrogance. Je regardai pendant que l'on plaçait des trônes, et l'ancien des jours s'assit. Son vêtement était blanc comme la neige, et les cheveux de sa tête étaient comme de la laine pure. Son trône était comme des flammes de feu, et les roues comme un feu ardent. Un fleuve de feu coulait et sortait de devant lui. 1000 milliers le servaient, et 10 000 millions se tenaient en sa présence. Les juges s'assirent, et les livres furent ouverts. Je regardai alors à cause des paroles arrogantes que prononçait la corne, et tandis que je regardais, l'animal fut tué et son corps fut anéanti, livré au feu pour être brûlé. Les autres animaux furent dépouillés de leur puissance, mais une prolongation de vie leur fut accordée jusqu'à un certain temps. Je regardai pendant mes visions nocturnes, et voici, sur les nuées des cieux arriva quelqu'un de semblable à un fils de l'homme. Il s'avança vers l'ancien des jours, et on le fit approcher de lui. On lui donna la domination, la gloire et le règne. Et tous les peuples, les nations et les hommes de toutes les langues le servirent. Sa domination est une domination éternelle qui ne passera point, et son règne ne sera jamais détruit. Moi, Daniel, j'eus l'esprit troublé au-dedans de moi, et les visions de ma tête m'effrayèrent. Je m'approchai de l'un de ceux qui étaient là, je lui demandai ce qu'il y avait de vrai dans toutes ces choses. Il me le dit et m'en donna l'explication. Ces 4 grands animaux, ce sont 4 rois qui s'élèveront de la terre. Mais les saints du Très-Haut recevront le royaume, et ils posséderont le royaume éternellement, d'éternité en éternité. Ensuite, je désirais savoir la vérité sur le 4e animal, qui était différent de tous les autres, extrêmement terrible, qui avait des dents de fer et des ongles d'airain, qui mangeait, brisait et foulait aux pieds tout ce qui restait. Et sur les 10 cornes qu'il avait à la tête, et sur l'autre qui était sortie, et devant laquelle 3 autres étaient tombés, sur cette corne, qui avait des yeux, une bouche parlant avec arrogance et une plus grande apparence que les autres, je vis cette corne faire la guerre aux saints et l'emporter sur eux, jusqu'au moment où l'ancien des jours vint donner droit aux saints du Très-Haut, et le temps arriva où les saints furent en possession du royaume. Il me parla ainsi. Le 4e animal, c'est un 4e royaume qui existera sur la terre, différent de tous les royaumes, et qui dévorera toute la terre, la foulera et la brisera. Les 10 cornes, ce sont 10 rois qui s'élèveront de ce royaume. Un autre s'élèvera après eux, il sera différent des premiers, et il abaissera 3 rois. Il prononcera des paroles contre le Très-Haut, il opprimera les saints du Très-Haut, et il espérera changer les temps et la loi. Et les saints seront livrés entre ses mains pendant un temps, des temps, et la moitié d'un temps. Puis viendra le jugement, et on lui ôtera sa domination, qui sera détruite et anéantie pour jamais. Le règne, la domination et la grandeur de tous les royaumes qui sont sous les cieux seront donnés au peuple des saints du Très-Haut. Son règne est un règne éternel, et tous les dominateurs le serviront et lui obéiront. Ici finirent les paroles. Moi, Daniel, je fus extrêmement troublé par mes pensées, je changeai de couleur et je conservai ces paroles dans mon cœur.
Un badge pour rentrer chez soi ou au travail, une carte vitale ou une carte de crédit. Tous ces objets sont en sursis. Le futur le voici, une micropuce plus fine qu'une allumette implantée sous la peau. Et tous les pouvoirs seront bientôt entre vos mains.
Vous pouvez débloquer votre téléphone, ouvrir votre porte, votre voiture, déclencher votre radio, enfin faire ce que vous voulez. Là, je passe ma main et voilà, la serrure de la porte est ouverte.
Les experts voient cette technologie comme l'avenir à court terme. Stocker des informations, des mots de passe, mais aussi du savoir en plus. Ces petites puces pourraient à terme révolutionner notre façon d'apprendre.
Dans le futur, si vous avez besoin d'apprendre le chinois en très peu de temps, une puce implantée réglera votre problème.
Mais le but premier de ces puces est avant tout économique, inciter les consommateurs à acheter plus facilement. Certaines boîtes de nuit utilisent déjà le dispositif, les clients y payent leur consommation d'un revers de main.
fought against. And so we have this central bank controlling us and controlling the laws of the nation. And now you see the government talking about these RFID chips going in everything that can track you wherever you go. It's going to be on your license, your driver's license by May 2008. They're telling the states you have to put these chips in the driver's licenses.
It's supposed to be in credit cards. It's supposed to be in everything in the future.
And they're going to chip people with it. They're going to put it into your bodies.
Right, and it not only in our bodies, in our wallets. You walk through but you walk through a turnstile and you have a barcode on something. The transaction's done.
Of course, but I'm saying to you that it goes in stages. First, so you can have it on your driver's license, you can have it on your card, but eventually it's going to end up in your hand.
Yes.
Right, it's going to end up in your hand. So you're going to have a homing device built into you. Right. They can track you wherever they want to track you, wherever you want.
If you have a cell phone or if you have a GPS system in your car, they can do that anyway.
They
but
can.
It's just making it a lot easier.
Well, I mean, you chip now, you're going to be chipped like a dog.
Right.
You know, if I don't want to be chipped, I'm not going to be chipped. Right. But the fact is that, you know, you're not going to be able to start your computer or you're not going to be able to have a bank account. And if you're chipped, then all money now becomes digitized. They can take the chips out of you whenever they want to. I mean, they can take your money from you whenever they want to. You have no say.
And this
you owe us this much money. You owe us this much money. And they just take it out of your digits.
Right.
You know, so so you have no privacy left.
Right.
You know, I mean, if I don't want to have a cell phone, I can throw it away. If I don't want GPS in my car, I can get rid of it.
Right.
Once they want to implant you in it, and there's no more money, there's no more cash, and you're in a cashless society, you have to have that chip. And if you want to buy food, right? So, and if you protest like I do, if you fight what they're doing, they can just turn off my chip. I can't even buy food. I can't pay my bills. Right? It's total control. It's slavery. It's slavery. And these central bankers are doing that. And I'm not prepared to allow them to do it. That's why I made this movie. I want people to wake up and know what's really happening in this country and the world. That's what happened in Europe recently. They voted down the European Constitution, right? But they're not stopping. They're going forward anyway. Because first they want to put the world into blocks: the Europeans, the Asians, the Americas, into and then they want to bring it all together. I mean, it's a one-world government where even voting has no more. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, think about a totalitarian country today. That's the bottom line. We live in totalitarianism, and if you want to get it back, we have to get rid of the Federal Reserve System. We have to make people have the control of their government again.
Before we're all chipped?
Before we're all chipped. I know I'm not going to take an ID card, you know, and nobody should take an ID card, even if it's in your driver's license. You know, because what they're going to do is say, well, everybody knows they need a driver's license, right? So we're going to put in the driver's license, which they can't turn down. Because if you just had a separate ID card, you would say, well, I don't want that card, I'm not going to take it. If it's in my driver's license, I better get it because I have to drive. So they're very smart people. They put you into situations where you have to take things from them. But even if it's in the driver's license, you shouldn't take it. You know, don't take an ID card. And I'm planning a series of nationwide strikes and revolt against what's happening in the government to wake people up, to shut down the Federal Reserve System, to stop these chips from being employed, you know, and I expect that my movie is going to raise a lot of awareness and activity from people. People start getting involved when they realize what's really happening and how all these central banks of the world are working together. I mean, sometimes you say the word New World Order, and people, oh, you're just a conspiracy nut, you know.
No, you know, that's not true anymore, though, is it?
Well, some people. And so I showed George Bush in the movie talking about the New World Order. You know, so, okay. And so the point is, the New World Order is really where all the governments of the world work, all the central banks of the world work together. They control the governments and they can control the laws of the world. And we're going to have to be forced to listen to these laws. And the laws are about controlling us, not giving us freedom, you know.
Mesdames et messieurs, bienvenue sur notre plateau. Des études sur les animaux prouvent que les puces RFID peuvent causer des cancers. Le docteur Catherine Albrecht, experte américaine en protection de données, fut interpellé quand un ami lui dit que son bulldog était mort d'un cancer qui était apparu autour de l'endroit où avait été implantée la puce RFID. Dans ses investigations, elle trouva 8 études indiquant que jusqu'à 10% des animaux de laboratoire portant des puces avaient développé des tumeurs malignes autour de celles-ci. Elle dit « Dans certains cas, le cancer a généré des métastases et a souvent conduit à la mort de l'animal. » Case Johnson, médecin pathologiste à la retraite et auteur d'une des études, est convaincu que les puces RFID sont la cause de la tumeur qui se forme toujours autour de l'implant. D'autres chercheurs en cancérologie aussi se montrent très inquiets. Ils soupçonnent que c'est soit une réaction de défense du corps contre l'implant, soit que le rayonnement électromagnétique de la puce stimule directement la dégénérescence des cellules. Si l'implantation de la puce RFID a un impact mortel sur les animaux, alors dans quelle mesure il sera sain et approprié d'implanter des puces RFID sur l'homme? Chers téléspectateurs, les médias nous informeront-ils de ce risque ou resteront-ils muets, comme ils l'ont fait à propos des effets cancérigènes des ondes? Nous vous laissons réfléchir à ces questions et vous disons à très bientôt.
You know, Nick and I discussed many things. One of the things we discussed, or he brought up in conversation, was reducing world population, and felt that there were too many people in the world. In a way, I agree. There are too many people in the world, but I don't think I have the authority to say who's going to die and who's not going to die. The ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one-world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers. And they're doing it in sections. The European currency, the euro, and the European Constitution is one part of it. Now they're trying to do it in America with the North American Union, right? And they want to create a new currency called the Amero, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, right? There'll be no more cash. And this is given me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. If they say you owe us this much money in taxes, they just deduct it out of your chip digitally.
Total control.
Total control. And if you're like me or you, and you're protesting what they're doing, they can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do, what
everything.
You sell.
Everything is in there, you know? And so they want a one-world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people, and you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intent. And that was a lot of people join the CFR because they think it's a prestigious organization. It'll help them in business, make good business contacts. They didn't have an understanding that the CFR is really about world domination, about how they and the Trilateral Commission and the Bilderbergers all work together, with the banks to control the people. A lot of them don't understand that. They don't see the big picture. Oh, it's CFR, it's a prestigious organization. I'll make this one, I'll make that one. I can do good business deals out of it. It's just business to them. The CFR wants to get the people in there that have influence and power, and so they're part of that. So they're not opposing them, It's like the whole country today is becoming the haves and have-nots. You're getting the very, very wealthy, the middle class is being destroyed, and you're getting the poor people.
Isn't this just a slick mafia that took over and uses fancy PR?
Well, you can call it mafia, you call it whatever you want, but it's definitely a criminal organization. There's no question about it. But it's a criminal organization that has prestige, that appears to have what's the word I'm looking for? Class, style. You know, it's like, you know, respected. It's respected. People don't look at it as being a criminal organization. That's what a great job they've done. You know, people look at Alan Greenspan as being a hero. You know, the maestro. You know. What
do you think happened with him in the late '60s? He wrote a big section, a chapter for Ayn Rand in a book, and he talked about how horrible the Federal Reserve was. We needed a gold standard. Now the bankers are robbing us. And then they literally came and said, "Oh, and you see somebody who made a deal with Beelzebub."
Well, you know, exactly. You make a deal with the devil. I mean, it gave him a chance to be one of the most powerful men on the earth, you know, and it gave him a chance to accomplish things he never thought he would accomplish in his life other than that. And it's very seductive. You know, it's a very attractive perfume. I mean, I was attracted when they came to me and spoke to me about it. I thought about it. I was attracted to it, you know. They asked me if I wanted to open up these nightclubs, you know, open up a chain of Baywatch nightclubs, you know, and we'll do this thing, we'll do that, and we can do this. I mean, all these things were proposed to me, business ventures. But you know
what it is? It was your nature, though. It's the way you are. You couldn't take the deal.
Well, I can't do that to people. I just can't be in a position where I can do that to other people. I have a conscience, and my conscience would not permit me to do that. You know, people say I'm very courageous. I don't think I'm courageous. I think I have a conscience, and my conscience doesn't allow me to do that to people. It makes me feel sick.